The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons. Welcome everyone to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining us. As I always ask you guys to do, please don't forget to drop a like on this stream, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, we thank you very much indeed for your support. A little disclaimer that I always get out the way because I can't promise that my language is always going to be clean. So if adult language offends anybody, you might want to go and watch something a little bit less colourful. You might want to watch Songs of Praise or something like that. But we are here with a very, very special guest who I tried to get on the previous channel that I inhabited, and things got in the way and life got in the way generally for myself and for my guest tonight. But I finally managed to get him. He's here. Mr. Brian Deer, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. That's good to hear. So Brian, what have you been up to lately? What you getting up to? You celebrated your 80th trip around the sun quite recently.
Yep, 80 years. Nothing much. You know, I've done most things. So it's just really was another birthday. Fortunately, I could get to the game at West Ham that day. I half knew what was going to occur, but you know, it was really a great day. You know, all the lads who I worked with there on match days, they were great. Dan Francis had a few little presents for me, and the usual shirt with your age on the back to let everyone know. I've still got the 75 one up on the wall in the bedroom, and another blank one. Now I've got the 81 up there.
Oh, so it's gradually ramping up, but you're 80 years young, Brian. You're looking well on it, I have to say.
That's very nice of you to say that. I'll tell my wife.
For any of the guys watching live, as obviously, if you've got any questions for Brian as we go along, please start it with a Q, as it says there on the ticker at the bottom. It just makes it easier for me to sort of like find it amongst all of the bits and pieces. So as I said earlier, before we hit go live, Brian, obviously there's sort of resources out there that you can utilize, like Wikipedia as the usual one, but I'm never one that takes what I read on Wikipedia as 100% the gospel. But obviously you started you had your youth career. You started it with West Ham United. There was no other club that you were ever sort of tempted by back in the day?
No, not really. There was only one little blip when I was leaving school. There was a guy called Bill Williams, I think, who played for West Ham, and he was involved in Barking Football Club.
Okay.
And he seconded my dad into signing some silly forms to play for Barking. And when it came for me to go and to West Ham to sign as an apprentice, there was a little bit of a problem, and my father and I and him had to go to London to the FA and get the signature annulled that I signed for barking. He got a bollocking off the FA, and I come back and signed my forms to go on the ground staff at West Ham. So it was a bit of a hairy start.
Again, according to Wikipedia, your place of birth is listed on here. Correct me if I'm wrong. As Plaistow. So were you always a West Ham fan growing up?
Well, I was. Yeah. Well, I during the war. I mean, I was born 2 years before the war finished, didn't I? My mother was living with her grandmother in Canning Town then, in the old town in Bidder Street, and that's where we were staying. But I was born in Howes Road, Plaistow Hospital, and I don't know much about that, but yeah, that was where all my family were from, out of Canning Town. My mum's family and my dad's family. It was West Ham players were very local in those days. We didn't get too many people from miles away. It was if you played local football for your school, and I played for the district, I played for the county. So really, West Ham was the only club I wanted to be. I mean, I was at the Intercontinental a little while ago, and I went on the mic with Carlton Cole and the young man who scored our winning goal in Prague. And I said to the crowd in there, I said, before I played for West Ham, I was a supporter of West Ham, and that got quite a roar. So I done all right for the first bit. But yeah, I was always hanging around, getting autographs on bits of paper and dropping on my phone away before I got home. But yeah, I wanted to carry on playing football when I left school, because the junior school I was at was Brampton Road, and my teammate in those days was Ronnie Boyce. We lived very close to one another, and we lived near a big park, Central Park. His dad had a little grocery shop. My dad was working in the wood yards and taking Lyles and God knows, in those days. And we used to get over the park of a night, 25, 35 kids, in a game of football, never knowing what was going to happen, later on in life. But that's where we started. And, when it was dark, we come home.
You have to just bear with me. I don't quite know what's happened with StreamYard. It's got a little bit peculiar this end, so you forgive me. This is sometimes what happens with live streaming, Brian. I'm afraid sometimes you get internet gremlins, and I think sometimes it's the weather that plays a part in that. So I do apologise. Got a question coming in here. I think I know the answer to it, but he's asked the question. I'll get it up here. How did you get called Stag as a nickname? I think I know the answer. I think it's fairly obvious, but
well, because my name was Deer.
yes, Rob. It's because his surname's Deer. Stag, Deer. I thought that probably it would have been. He probably wrote it and probably never even thought about it, and then now he's probably thinking, "Oh yeah, now he sort of says it. It's fairly obvious, really, isn't it?" It's a bit like, why is my name Katie?
Well, we all had sort of nicknames at West Ham as young fellas, so that's what I got.
Yeah,
got worse through my career.
Interesting, and I don't mean to be funny and say sort of like Stag isn't an interesting nickname, but like you say, it's a fairly straightforward one with your surname being Deer. Was there anybody that in the West Ham dressing room that had a nickname that was a little bit more of an interesting story behind it, to the best of your knowledge?
No, not really. No, Jack. Most of the lads didn't get. I mean, Bobby was Moro. We just called him Moro, and Hursley and Boise. Well, they called him Ticker, didn't they, when he was playing, because he was non-stop. No, not really.
It was all pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, John. David Bickles was David Bickles. Charlo was Charlo. Johnny Charles. Some of them were short names, but no, it was. nothing out of the ordinary, to be fair.
Fair
Eddie
enough.
Bolligan, we used to call him Teddy Reno, God knows why, but Eddie, like, that was his nickname.
I actually
Budgie,
met
Johnny Byrne was Budgie, wasn't he? Alan Steely was Sammy.
Oh, right. What's the story behind that? Why was he Sammy?
Well, because his name was like a seal, wasn't it? Seeley.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Pete Braybrook was Bradas. Everyone called him Bradas. John Bond, of course, was Muffin. Because when he was playing, he had a kick like a mule. So he got Muffin. So that was about the size of it, really. Sizzo, John Sissons was Sizzo. Nothing really different. I don't know. The changes these days. They're called all sorts of names, aren't they? Are you with me?
I hate the internet at times. This is one of those times when I want to get hold of my wireless router and chuck it out the window. It's ridiculous. I do apologise, Brian, but luckily I've got a plan B sitting right by me that if the internet starts dicking around, which it is at the minute, I can just grab hold of me handset on me mobile phone and sort of go again. Just a couple of little questions that I had prepped up here. We got quite a few from a regular contributor, and I believe she's in the chat, Joan. So her first question that Joan has sort of fired in is, can she ask why you were given the honour of the Freedom of London?
Why was I given the honour for? Well, because in later life, I was a steward. I was in a Masonic lodge, and I was a steward at the temple in Southend. And there was a guy who used to come to meetings. He was quite a wealthy man, a businessman, and he done quite a bit for charities. And I helped him with his charities, getting balls signed and shirts signed. And, he was very pleased with that. And I was quite happy to do that. But then I lost touch with him. And there was a friend of mine had a pub in Brentwood. And I was over there one Sunday lunchtime with my wife and Martin Peters and Kathy to go for a bit of lunch. Well, my mate who owned the pub loved seafood, and I took a bowl of eels over to him. A big bowl. You still with me?
I'm here.
You still with me?
Yep, I'm here.
And I took it and put them on the counter. And he said to me, "COYI," he said, "I've got a mate of mine coming in a minute." He said he loves a jellied eel. And I was sitting down and I went up to speak to him at the bar, and it turned out to be this man who I hadn't seen for quite a few years.
Okay.
And right out of the blue, he said, "What are you doing here?" But I said, "I'm just going to have a bit of lunch with my wife." And Martin and his wife, he went, "I want to do something for you." He said, don't go anywhere, don't go away. So he come back with a form. And he said, "I'm going to propose you to become a freeman in the City of London."
Wow.
If I got up off my phone and walked around, would you travel with me?
Of course.
Right.
Be glad to.
I'll just go out to my kitchen and turn the lights on. And up on the wall, can you see that?
I can indeed, yes.
And there it is. That was 2001.
Wow, that must have been a very proud moment in your life.
Yeah, that was a long while ago now, wasn't it? What are we now? 23 years.
Yeah.
22 years ago. Since then, I got very friendly with the guy who done the ceremonies there. Because when I went initially to sign up, I was sitting in his office and he was chatting away and this and that. And all of a sudden he spun round and he went, "Brian Deere, not Brian Deere, the footballer." I said, "Yes." He said, "Well," he said, "I'm a Luton Town supporter." And we became friends when I, the South End games, when we used to play Luton, I used to go there, take you in the boardroom. And when we was at home to South End, to Luton, he used to come down with his son, walk along the pier, and he'd come up to the boardroom, and I would look after him. And we got really friendly, and it transpired that from that friendship, I proposed Bobby to become a Freeman, but to become a Freeman, you can't do it posthumously. So Stephanie, his wife, took it.
Okay.
She became a Freeman in the City of London. And then I had done one for Martin Peters. I proposed Martin and he became a Freeman. I asked Jeff and he wasn't much interested because he was a knight then, of course.
Yeah.
And then of all people, I asked Harry.
Okay.
Harry with his bank account for his little dog and that.
Yeah.
And there was a few problems there, but it transpired that everything was okay on the day. So Harry became a Freeman.
Oh, is he now?
And then my last one, I was very proud to do, was for Mark Noble.
Oh, that's how he got the gig.
Yes, that was me. And I asked him if he would like to become a Freeman because he was a kid at West Ham for 18 years. Unfortunately, he gave his all for the club. He was out on loan here and there and God knows what, and just never got recognised, I don't think, for any honours for England. Maybe a youth cap or something, but he stood firm at West Ham for 18 years and missed out. If it had been another 18 months, he might have been captain in Prague. You never know.
Yeah.
But he retired. So I went to the training ground one day and asked him if he would like me to propose him, and he went yes. I'd be chuffed, Bri. So we put that in motion, and I was up there with him on the day, and his wife and family, and so he had a good day, and they loved him up there. Couldn't get enough of him.
I suppose, as you said, 18 years at one club as a professional. Obviously, yeah, people could turn around and go, yeah, but he had a couple of spells out on loan. No, but he was still a West Ham player all of that time. That doesn't really happen so much now, does it?
Look at Harry Kane. He was at Millwall. He was at Leyton Orient. He was at Norwich. He was all over the place. That didn't phase him out why he should never have stayed at Tottenham and became what he became. But then he never won nothing at Tottenham.
No. He had to go to a bigger and better club.
Yeah, to get something which he was, really you're not entitled to it, but he'd given enough to Tottenham to be on the end of something really nice. But he stayed loyal to them, unlike some footballers of these days. Both them boys were very loyal to their clubs.
Yeah, I mean the money in football is quite mind-boggling. I mean, you must, playing with the World Cup trio of obviously Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst, Martin Peters, and you hear some of the sums of players going for now, players that are nowhere near on the same sort of level as these players, and they're going for tens of millions, and they're getting tens of thousands of pounds a week. And you must sit there and go, if only we'd have sort of like been born sort of like 20, 30 years later, what an absolute killing we'd have made. But do you sometimes think that actually the era that you were sort of like existed in, and the sort of the dynamic that football was in that time, do you actually think that actually you wouldn't change a thing?
No. Why should you want to change a thing? You can't. You get what you dished out, don't you?
Yeah.
But what you got to realise is that when I went to West Ham in 1959, Boyce had just joined there. Jeff's father was a semi-pro. They moved from Manchester because he went to work for the big firm in Chelmsford, and he was only seen somewhere playing football and asked if he'd like a trial at West Ham, and he ended up at West Ham. Jack Burkett, Eddie Bovington, Johnny Sissons, myself, everyone, like Bobby Brownie, Bondi. They were all there, Brownie and Bondi, when we were kids. But we were all local lads. Tony Scott. I mean, we didn't have lots of people from out the areas. I mean, where I was in East Ham, around Ilford, Barking, and Dagenham, and Romford, there was hundreds of kids playing football. And we had Essex schoolboys, London. I played for Essex schoolboys, London schoolboys, England schoolboys with Martin Peters. It's just, that's how it progressed. I mean, captain of our England schoolboy side was Chris Lawler, who was at Liverpool all those years.
Yeah, sort of 60s and 70s he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, but this was in 1958, 59 time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I'm familiar with the name. Yeah.
I got me one and only England cap.
Just to sort of go back to the freedom of the City of London. Is it correct that as a result of that particular accolade, I'm just looking here, that some of the things that it entitles you to do is to drive sheep and cattle over London Bridge? Has that ever been something you've been tempted to do, Brian?
Well, no, none of the people I ever proposed were farmers. But that started when they was going to charge people to go across the bridge. They then said that the farmers can take their sheep over for nothing. So that's how it was. That was how it transpired, that you could take your sheep across London Bridge. But
I wonder what would happen if one day, just for a giggle, you managed to get a couple of sheep and just sort of like say, right, I'm going to take these over London Bridge. You'd probably cause a traffic chaos for a start. The old Bill would probably be buzzing around going, what the bloody hell's going on here?
I don't think they could stop you.
No,
because that was part of the ceremony.
Yeah. Why not?
But once you become a freeman, you can go on to other things. You can join liveries, and like the butchers, the bakers, the candlestick makers, the fishmongers. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of liveries. And I have been a couple of times to the occasion when, the day before the Lord's Mayor show, they invested the new Lord Mayor of London.
Yep.
And I've been to that a couple of times, which is an amazing day. And all the livery men. I mean, it's not cheap becoming the Mayor of London. You have to be, quite a wealthy person.
Yeah.
Because once you're in the Mansion House, there's lots of things. I mean, it's an amazing building, the Guildhall. Amazing. They've got their own art gallery downstairs. I mean, when Mark came, all the people were waiting for him when it's finished to get his photo and sign this and have a photo with him. It was a brilliant day. And we had a meal upstairs afterwards, which we were lucky to get. We were lucky to be able to have a meal in a very exclusive part of the building. And he was there with his family. It was really good, really great. And Harry, of course, he had this. He got the same thing.
Did they get it at the same ceremony?
No,
Harry
different times.
Okay.
But I have a couple of friends who are quite well liked in the Guildhall, and who've done lots of good work for around London and God knows what. It helps to have them people around you as well. But it's not like winning a cup final, but it's. I mean, I only done it for people who I liked, who are my friends, and especially Mark, because of the time and effort he gave to West Ham United was amazing, and he's a very approachable young man, and he's he's a good family boy, and he's an East End boy, isn't he? Most of them were from the East End, so I was quite pleased I could do that for them.
Not many like Mark Noble now, one club men. Is
No.
there? Is a little bit of a sort of like a thing from the past, really?
Yeah, I mean, the money in the game now is phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the wages we got was, I suppose, the wages of the time.
Mm.
I mean, we like Jeff, Martin, Johnny Sissons, Ronnie Boyce, myself. We all lived in Hornchurch, off of Winglety Lane, on a new estate that was built there. I mean, our houses were £5,200. Mine was £28 a month mortgage.
Blimey, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now you sort of like see some of little sort of story for you, Brian, just to sort of illustrate the difference in sort of like if people sort of just to sort of give them a yardstick. I mean, compare that to I was driving through a part of southeast London. You probably familiar with Deptford, and I was just sitting there in this queue of traffic, and there was this new sort of like developments. I think they've pretty much built it now, but I remember when they were sort of like clearing the land and whatever, and you had like the boards sort of like on the perimeter, and obviously the building company was sort of like advertising this new development, and I'm sitting there and I've looked at it and it said 1-bedroom apartments from £575,000, and I was just like, what?
I know, it's amazing. I mean, look at the price. Look at the price of going to watch a football match now.
Don't.
I mean,
yeah,
it's
£8 for a beer. Really?
I know. £2,000 to go and hit a few golf balls, and come to the ground in a helicopter. But
yeah, no, I think I'll just go on the train. That's fine.
I mean, that's what it's like these days. I mean, all the lads who do the hostess, the hosting at West Ham, we're all sort of from different eras, but wages weren't astronomical like they are now. You can't blame footballers. That's what it is now, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
television is big money for clubs. I mean, at West Ham, you could hardly get a cup of tea and a sausage roll when I played there. And of course, then they had the boxes at Upton Park. And then, over the Chicken Run, you couldn't get nothing because there was only toilets up there. You couldn't get a cup of tea really anywhere. And toilets were at the minimum.
yeah,
But that was football then.
yeah. Everything changes.
Yeah.
Budgie's just popped up. Not a question, Brian, but he's just he says, "Good evening, Mr. Deere," and he just says, "Thank you for giving us your time." Just thought I'd throw that in from Budgie's. Budgie in the live chat. He just thanking you for giving us your time. So I thought I'd get that out there. Alison Street has asked a question in the live chat, and she's asked you the question: if you had not made it as a professional footballer, what do you think your profession would have been?
Well, I wanted to go in the print.
Okay.
But, I wasn't dumb at school. I was quite bright. But I just wanted to be somewhere where there was some action. But, once you get the knock on the door and you wanted, and you've got a chance to do something that you've loved ever since you could run,
Mm.
it was difficult to turn around. And you know, you were given a fair chance in those days as well. I mean, you were on the ground staff. You weren't treated as a ground staff boy. I mean, we had to do certain things, you know, with people's kit and God knows what. But you know, that was just a, you know, possession into becoming a professional. And we were lucky because all the men at the club I first went to at West Ham, they were all good men, earning like 15, 16 quid a week. And we were very lucky. What I tell people, in 58, 59, we got promotion to the first division, West Ham.
Yeah.
And most of us boys walked into that club at that time. You know, we weren't a second division club or a third division club. And, you know, that played our way through that and then got noticed and then went on to somewhere else. We were brought up in a first division club. And all the time I was at West Ham, we were never relegated. We have suffered one or two relegations at Southend, look at me, at West Ham. But, you know, West Ham was always in the first division, which was great for us, you know, because out of that, you know, we won cups, we won trophies. I mean, when you think 1959, 60, you're on the ground staff for a couple of years. So, you know, I made my league debut in 1963. And in 18 months, 2 years, I'm playing in a European final at Wembley.
Is it correct you made your debut against Wolves? Is that right, Brian?
Away to Wolves. Yeah.
Yeah, got that here. Got that little nugget of information here.
It was a draw. I was frightened out of my life.
But once you got that out of the way, everything sort of like clicked into place pretty quickly after that, or was it a little bit more of a sort of time before you felt sort of, yeah, this is a bit of me?
Well, it wasn't it wasn't till the 63, 64, 64, we won the cup, didn't we? And that side was pretty, you know, the same side for the whole season. There was a few changes. I don't think I made many appearances. You know, I was never one of, you know, writing down how many games I had and God knows what. You know, we had a reserve team. We started off in the Metropolitan League side as young kids, where, you know, we played at some terrible places. And no one, you know, they kicked the shit out of us. They didn't, you know, us nice little boys in our white shorts and God knows what. But, you know, you grew up quick, learned to look after yourself. And
Toughened you up.
You know, the side that won the FA Cup, you know, a year, 18 months before, you know, you had Jack Burkett, you had Bobby, you had Jeff, Johnny Sissons, Ronnie Boyce, Ken Brown. They, you know, Peter Braywood, of course, cost us 35 grand, didn't he, from Chelsea?
Yep.
Jim Stanton cost us 10 grand from Arsenal. And then when Ron came and they'd sacked Ted Fenton, we swapped Dave Dunmore for Anna Seeley for Leighton Orient for nothing. Just a straight swap. And, you know, those were the boys who were coming through then. I mean, Bobby made his league debut 8th of September, didn't he? 1960, well, early on. Because that was when Malcolm
Allison, yeah.
Malcolm was poorly then, wasn't he? And, you know, he didn't play much more football after that. But I mean, I showed people photos of them sitting around Casatara's table.
Oh, the old salt and pepper pots.
Jimmy Andrews, Frank O'Farrell, John Bond, Malcolm Allison, Noel Campbell, Malcolm Musgrove. Everyone a manager. Everyone managed football clubs and big clubs.
couple of them managed Manchester United at one point, didn't they? I think Dave Sexton.
Dave Sexton was Franco Farrell, and Noel went there before. I think it was Munich, maybe after Munich. He was the dearest fullback in the world, Noel Campbell. And he only, he was only here from a club in Ireland. Franco Farrell, Tommy Maroney. There has been some great players, Harry Hooper, and bloody hell, frightening. Well, the gates at Upton Park were paid for with Harry Hooper's transfer fee to Wolves.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Things you learn. Got a question here from. Hang on a sec. Where is it? Hang on. I'm just winding back. Here it is. Because you mentioned him earlier. Now, Ted Fenton. What was he like as a manager?
Ted was okay. We were young boys when Ted was there. So therefore I don't think maybe Bobby made his league debut when Ted was manager. I don't know of anyone else who really made their mark when Ted was there, because Andy Malcolm, they were quite a settled side then, weren't they, in the 60s, early 60s, 60, 61, 62. But Ted was okay. Ted wasn't really a coach. We had the F plan, didn't we? I don't know what the F plan was. Just his name was Fenton. Plan and thing, but it gave. I think that's where it gave the chance of Malcolm, who was, he wanted to play football a different way to Ted. And it was amazing. I mean, Malcolm, they had a new set of shirts put in the dressing room, and before the game that night or that day, Malcolm went in and cut all the sleeves off because he was the instigator of the smaller shorts and the tighter shirts and things.
Really?
Yeah, that was his. That was how he was. And Noel was, they were great. They were great players, them lads. Johnny Bond only come from a little team in Colchester. Most, Muffy they used to call him, didn't they?
Yep.
Because he was pretty good at whacking the ball about. Phil Woodman, we brought in. I remember my league debut. He said, "You'll be all right." He said, when you get the ball, give it to me and make yourself look good. I thought, thanks a lot. Right, here we go. One touch, and I've got to give it to you.
Got just a question here. I saw it earlier. An interesting one, quite a contemporary question, I think. How do you think you would have coped with VAR if it was around in your era? So just to sort of frame that question as well, what are your thoughts on VAR? Are you a fan of it, or is it not really your cup of tea?
Some of the things they're doing now, I mean, look at VAR is of course the most spoke about thing now. I don't know whether it's tough on referees or tough on the people who are sitting in these places watching it and God knows what. I mean, I really don't like VAR, and I think lots of people who have got a dislike for VAR. I mean, when we played, if you was offside, you was offside. You didn't argue. The whistle went, and that was it. Yellow cards, red cards. I think it just. I mean, look at the goals now.
Yeah.
How many goals would people have scored these days? When I was playing, if I had a shot and it hit someone and went in the back of the net, it's an own goal.
Yep.
Now, if Harry Kane has a shot and it hits him and goes in, because it was going to go in the goal, it's Harry Kane's goal. I mean, where do they get the laws from?
I think they just make it up in the back of a fag packet half the time, don't they?
It just don't make sense, does it?
No. And I think that the fact that sort of like someone can be sort of like marginally like the width of a fly's wingtip, someone's offside. It's like Jesus Christ.
You could pass it back to the goalkeeper and he could pick it up and bounce it and kick it out. Now you can't do that. You can't pick the ball up, but you can control it. And goalkeepers are now becoming like outfield players, aren't they? You know, a goalkeeper you're going to pay 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million for has got to be able to be good with his feet because everything is started from the back now. And, you know, you haven't got no great big centre forwards like we had years ago where they used to pump the big ball up and he'd flick it on and someone was flying behind him. The game is entirely different now. I mean, when you get all this, when I'm listening to the England manager with his presses and this and that and second phase, I mean, you know, you'd have gone to the university to understand some of the stuff now.
It's a load of old bollocks, a lot of it. I think a lot of it, they just reinvent terminology to give something a new name.
Terminologies, you're correct. Absolutely. I mean, I remember when Jeff got the last goal in the World Cup and it was late on in the game and Bobby sort of got the ball, controlled it and took it out of the penalty area and so on. So, and Jack Chant said to me once, he said, if that had been, I wouldn't have known what to do, he said. He said, I've just picked it in the crowd. But, you know, Bobby was a different entity, wasn't he? I was at Wembley one night with Malcolm Allison and there was an international on and there were some blokes sitting in front of us. And all of a sudden one of them said, I ain't seen much of Bobby Moore tonight. And Malcolm tapped him on the shoulder and went, that is because he hasn't made a mistake, young man. I mean, what can the fella do?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, well, you know, he's there, he's done his job. So, you know.
I mean, it was Malcolm who made sure Bobby played that night. And of all the sides to play was Manchester United on the 8th of September, the day the Queen died. He made his league debut years before.
Wow. And a lot of people say that Bobby Moore owes a large debt of gratitude, or did owe a large debt of gratitude for his career to Malcolm Allison, because he was a big advocate of Bobby Moore. Is that right?
Yeah, him and Noel. The senior players saw something in him, and you know he was captain of England's schoolboys at cricket, and he couldn't get capped as a schoolboy for football. How'd you make that up?
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a joke. But he was some player, wasn't he? My God.
I mean, I've only ever, I obviously, unfortunately, I never saw him play live. Obviously, I missed him by a few years, but I've obviously seen him on highlight reels, footage of like the 64 Cup final, 65 Cup final, 66 World Cup final. You know, the 1970, the game against Brazil, against Pele, and wave after wave of Brazilian sort of like attack, the assembled hordes in yellow, Jairzinho, you know, Tosteo, Roberto Rivellino, and it was an absolute masterclass in defending.
They had Santos and Nilton Santos, didn't they? The two brothers at the back who were like giants. And Gilmar in goal. I mean, in his all black. He was just phenomenal, Bob. He was
on another level that day.
Oh yeah.
Of course, that was the game that Gordon Banks made that save, but Bobby Moore, just wow.
Bobby, I know, but he was a good fella and all. died too young.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if we go back to the European Captain's Cup, I mean, he missed a couple of the games of that early on.
Yep.
Because he had a problem. But Ron was a very clever man. He only ever used Reg Drury of the News of the World and Victor Roughton from the Evening News. Anything that come out of West Ham, they got. And they were that good to Ron that they never put anything bad in the paper, because otherwise he'd stripped it off of them and found someone else. So they were trusted by Ron, and it worked out very well for the club. And I mean, I don't think Bobby played in the game against Le Gantois, the two games, and I think he might have missed the game Sparta Prague. I'm not sure, but I mean, that year we won the European Captain's Cup. I mean, I wasn't much around in the side. I hadn't played many games up until then, and it was quite out of the blue how I got my chance there, because we were due to play Lausanne on the Sunday, and it was postponed because the pitch was overcrowded with snow. And on the Saturday, that next Saturday, we were playing Sunderland at home, and I got asked to go out on the pitch by Ernie Gregory to speak to Ron, and I said, "What's the matter, Ron?" He said, "I'm playing you tomorrow." He said, "I'm not going to play you tomorrow up front." He said, "Because Budgie's got an England, I mean, something or other occurred." Anyway, I went and played. We got beat 3-2. I scored both the goals. Was in the bath afterwards. And he came up to me and said, "All right, Stag." I went, "Yeah." He said, "Well done today." I said, "Yeah, thank you, Ron." He said, "You got a passport?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You're coming to Lausanne with us." So, me being me, he said to him, "Well, I ain't coming if I ain't playing." He went, "Just be here at 7 o'clock in the morning for the coach." And I went out there, scored within 11 minutes. Budgie got a fantastic goal from the halfway line. He went through him like a dose of salt. And it all took off. You know, I got two in the game at home against Lausanne, and the last one I got about 8 or 9 minutes from time got us through, because they scored more away goals than us, because it was the away goals counted double in those
tiebreaker. Yeah.
And then when we played the Spaniards, of course,
Real Zaragoza.
Oh, they was a powerful side. I scored early on in that, and Budgie got the second one.
Yep.
And they scored, so there was an away goal, and then we went there, and that was right in the middle of Spain, and that was we went on a private flight with supporters and directors, and it was a very industrial area, Zaragoza. We went into a military airport.
Okay.
And the crowd, it wasn't a massive stadium, but they had a forward line, and they called them Los Cinco Magnificos, the Magnificent Five, all internationals. The club was strewn with Spanish internationals. And we got out of that one, didn't we? They scored to make it 2-2, and of course their away goal was counting then, and then right within 10 minutes or so of the end, we broke down a corner, and he rolled up to me, and I was on the centre circle. I never passed 25-yard balls there, and Sizzo went flying by me, and I've just whacked it along the floor at him, and he went and scored. And we won it on the away goal. And,
yeah, I've got it here. 7th of April 1965 was the first leg.
Yeah.
at Upton Park.
And then after that, I couldn't. I scored 14 goals in 10 games. So I thought, I'm okay now. I'm going to play in the final because Budgie done his knee in the game at Wembley. So he was out, and that kept me in. Alan Seeley took over from Braybrook a couple of games before the European games and stayed in the side, and because then we had the final, didn't we, which was an amazing night, absolutely amazing. We ended the season well as well.
I've got one here though, Brian, that Happy Hammerette mentioned, and I had this prepped as well. On the 16th of April 1965, do you remember what you was doing on that particular date?
Must have been playing wrong.
That's the one. That's the one. Happy's asking, where is it? I've pressed the wrong button. She asked the question of whether you are still the person that scored the quickest 5 goals in English League football. I've checked this, and I believe you are.
Well, Aguero got close, but my excuse is we kicked off at 3:00.
Yep.
Half time was 3:45. 5-4 was the second half. 20-5, we finished playing football. We didn't have three minutes added time.
Yep.
Or 7 minutes added time, or 9 minutes added time, like now. That was the time, and that's the time I've already gone on. So, but then Jeff went and got 6 against Sunderland the next season.
Oh, yeah, but he didn't do it as quick as your 5 was.
And then 25 years later, he come forward and said he punched one of them in.
Oh dear. What do you remember about those 5 goals, though, Brian?
One was a minute before half time. One, I'm going to take you upstairs.
Oh. Little tour of the Brian Deere residence. This is an unexpected bonus.
Can you see these pictures?
Oh yes, I can.
That's us on the coach.
Wow.
That's me and Bobby and Sammy with the cup.
Brilliant.
This is the West Ham programme with the 5 goals. You see it there?
Wow. Yes.
This is the West Ham room.
Oh, wowzers. Look at this.
Look at all this.
That's outstanding.
And up here, and there's I'll explain that to you later on. And this is just full of West Ham gear. No one else really comes in this room except me.
This is your little bolt hole.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's a great picture.
Oh, is that
Johnny Byrne?
Yeah, and Bobby Moore.
Yeah, we've got our raincoats and that over our shoulders. He's got his with all his presents. But Budgie's got the Bacardi and the cigarettes. Look. And this is this is from the final, TSV Munich.
Wow.
This is a final, Taiwan.
That's my dad's actually got the program from that match.
And that's another one, West Ham's Academy. And this is my favourite one of all, because when we was in a dressing room at Wembley, we were coming out, and Bobby said to me, "You all right, Steg?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, Bob." He said, "Listen," he said, "when you go outside, there'll be a bloke. He'll hand me a football and grab one and walk behind me." I said, "Well, why?" He went, "You will definitely get your photo taken. Look," and there it is.
Oh, that is brilliant, isn't it?
With Boyce, which was lovely because Boyce and I were school pals, and Jeff.
Yeah.
and that was Brunemeyer, their captain. And that was 19th of May, 1965.
How much do you remember of that day at Wembley? Do you remember it very clearly still?
Yeah, well, we went away the night before. Most sides who got in cup finals at Wembley used to go to Hendon Hall. They both went to hotels, but normally one side, which was only about 10-minute ride, but it was high on a hill.
Yeah,
you could see Wembley from the hotel, and we went there the day before and just had a little knock around in the grounds on the morning of the game, and had some lunch and just went and relaxed. But we went off to America for 4 or 5 weeks, and we had these injections, and I had an injection, and I had a reaction on it, and I had a plaster on my neck. And Ron asked me if I was all right. I went, all right? I said, of course I'm fucking all right. And there are photos where you can see this thing on my neck. And then that night at Wembley, you know, neither of our physiotherapists of either side entered the pitch once. No water breaks. I mean, they was festooned with internationals. I mean, they had East German players who were internationals. There was at least 7 or 8 of them were full internationals. And there was only Bobby, Jeff and Martin. No one else in our side was an international. Under 23s, boys he had, and Johnny Sissons and whatever. But they had a goalkeeper who was the best goalkeeper in Germany at the time, a fellow called
Radenkovic, yes.
Because if you've ever seen the film with that, before we got our second goal, he's run about 25 yards out of his box, and I'm chasing the ball towards him, and he's just smashed me. We both went flying on the floor, got up, shook hands. He pissed off one way, and Bobby put the ball down, knocked it in the box. Martin mishit it, and Sammy smashed it in the second goal. So
brilliant.
These days, I would have got an assist.
Did you ever keep records of your assists, Brian? I'm guessing you probably didn't. They weren't a thing back then.
I only had eyes for myself.
Yeah, if you didn't score it, it wasn't really sort of like wasn't interesting.
No.
Fair enough. Just having a little look here at the questions that some of the guys have been ploughing in, and please keep them coming, guys. We do appreciate it. Budgie asks the question, not your ex-teammate Budgie, a different one. He asked the question: when you were at West Ham, what team did you dread facing the most, and was there any individual players that you would have to prepare yourself for? Because obviously we're going back to an era when I think it's fair to say you could get a bit more treatment than players can probably sustain now.
Oh yeah. Well, Leeds were a tough side. You know, they had tough players: Hunter, Cooper, Reaney, the centre half, Jackie Charlton. They were bullies, and they had big forwards as well. But I didn't play in the side that in the League Cup that year at Upton Park when we beat them 7-0. I don't think any other football club in their history inflicted such a result on them.
That's a bit of a pasting, that, isn't it? 7-0 against a great team like Leeds.
Yeah, slaughtered them. Absolutely slaughtered them. I think Budgie and Sizzo, they might have got hat tricks. I'm not sure. I know one of them got a hat trick, but Budgie was a fantastic player. Budgie was for 65 grand. He was the one who made Jeff Hurst. They were a pair and a half. Them 300 odd goals between them. They got 320, 330. I mean, Anna Seeley cost nothing. Jim Stanley cost 10 grand. Budgie cost 65 grand. That's all that side cost. All the others was 20 quid when we signed pro. Don't make sense, does it?
No, not really. No. Crazy. Different time, different era, different values. It's all relative, I guess. But got another question here.
Oh,
Rani
but
Bubble.
there were other sides. Burnley were quite tough
Okay.
when you went up there. You see, we used to play we played evening games up there, and it was cold up there as well. We were nice boys with our short sleeve shirts and stuff on, and Newcastle, they had big boys there. Moncur, McNamee, Wyn Davis up front. Tottenham and Arsenal, they had tough boys. Dave Mackay is great.
Dave Mackay, yeah.
When Dave Mackay used to come out, he'd look for a puddle, rub his hands, and he'd write all the shit down his shirt and think, "That's it. This is what you're going to do. This is for you today." But I don't know. They were a pretty good bunch of lads. Ian Ure was at Arsenal then. Terry Neal. They had who else was there? The fullback, left back. He was a good player, but they were quite tough. I remember when Ian Ure went to Manchester United, and Tommy Docherty took him, and he said to him one day, he said, "Ian," he said, "tomorrow we play Newcastle. I want you to put Malcolm McDonald out of the game." And he said, "Just for tomorrow or the rest of the season, boss." So straight away, this is what they were like. Bremner, they were spiteful little sods.
Johnny Giles.
Oh yeah, he was spiteful. Really was a spiteful little sod. I mean, we didn't really have any bad blood in our side. We were, we like to play football. We done okay. Never got relegated. Never won a league, but there were some great sides about them, weren't there? Manchester United, Leeds, Liverpool. I mean, we played at Liverpool in 1963. Dave Bickles made his league debut at centre half, and we beat them 2-1. They missed a penalty right at the end, and we never won there for 56 years, 53 years, did we?
Yeah, was it 2015 when it finally that streak broke?
Yeah, that was when Bilic was manager, wasn't it?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Waited all those years, and it wasn't a lucky 1-0. It was a 3-0 thrashing.
Oh yeah, it was. But then look at the side they had, Liverpool. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
The forward line, St John,
Roger Hunt,
the two wingers.
Ian Callahan. Was it Ian Callahan, one of them?
Callahan, yeah.
Yep.
Jimmy Melia. The big lad centre half. Well, the left back was the bloke who was the kit man in the end. Moran.
Johnny Moran.
Yeah.
Wow.
They had some players. And
yeah.
There were the sides in them days, because you was really closer to the pitch than like now.
Yeah.
Now, West Ham, you're 20 yards, 25 yards from the crowd, aren't you?
I dare say that's probably the big thing that you look at, London Stadium to Upton Park as it was when you play, and you just go, you must look and go, this is not a football stadium.
Well,
not as I know it.
When you think about the chicken run,
yeah,
you couldn't go 2 yards back to take a throw in, and they'd be calling you all sorts of fucking names. It's a wonder you ever had a mum and dad.
Got a question here from one of the viewers, please, Brian. Excuse me. Rani Bubble. It's a spoonerism for Barney Rubble, but there you go. Listening to Brian talking about reserve football and the experience he gained, does he think today's youth players would benefit from a proper reserve league?
Most definitely. Yes. But you see now you've got 8 or 9 players on the bench, haven't you, today?
Yeah.
The reserve side, when I was West Ham, on Friday the team sheet went up. First team reserves, the A team, and the Metropolitan League side, which was the A team, and then the youth teams. Well, we never played in the youth teams. We played in the Met League. But now you've got all these people like on the bench, sometimes who never appear. And when they do, they like 25 grand appearance, which
Mad,
is
isn't it?
nice to get on. But no, it did help us boys, because when we was in the Met side, Ernie Gregory looked after us, but we were playing sides who had ex-pros in, who really weren't worried about us West Ham boys in their little white shorts and, you know, nice shirts. And you grew up quick.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone played in them, like Martin, Bobby, Jeff. Who else was there in those days? We played Johnny Sissons, Charlo, David Pickles. I mean, and then you went on from there. Jack Burkett, Eddie Bovington. We all started, Tony Scott, we all started in the Met side. And there were some, like, not hardly any crowds. But you grew up quick, and you sort of learn how to look after yourself.
Were the home games in the Reserve League played at Upton Park, or were they played somewhere else?
Always at Upton Park.
Okay.
I mean, we had the London combination was quite funny, because the London combination, you were playing Wolves, you was playing Notts Forest, you were playing Plymouth. Not quite London combination, but Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, and us were in it. Crystal Palace, and you know they were tough games, and they used to draw decent crowds. And that was really, in them days, the only way to get in the league side. You know, to put in good performances. And it, as I say, yeah, it was. They did do good. I mean, if someone got injured on the Saturday in the first team, the reserve fullback would go and play in the first team. You know, they didn't shuffle players around like that. You know, football is entirely different now. I mean, the way they set sides up, the way the game's played. You know, there's a different. You know, the balls are different. You know, we played with balls with like skinny, like we had the string, didn't we, in there where they put the thing in and pumped them up. And you had
it would absorb the water, wouldn't it?
We had boots. Footballers now wear a different pair of boots every game, didn't they? Or they can take them off. We only got 2 pair of boots. We got a pair of rubbers with rubber studs and a pair with studs, and they had to last us the season. And then the next season we used them to train in, and we got 2 new pair. Now they wear a different pair every game, didn't they?
They probably wear 2 different pairs in a match. They probably have one first half and one in the second half.
And they're getting paid for wearing the boots, aren't they? Look at that little lad at Manchester City, 50 million for 5 years to wear their boots.
Isn't it crazy?
I know, but that's it. You know, I mean, there are the successful clubs are there every year now, aren't they? You know that you can put them on your hand who's going to go and win things. You know, when the game was different all those years ago when we played, you know, we all had good players in the sides, and no one run away with things, did they? Until you got the Manchester United boys, you know, when George was there and Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton and all that lot. I mean, you really only went there for the day out. I mean, because you was never going to win there, really, only by a stroke of luck. But that was what it was like. And now, unfortunately, you know, we've got all these clubs with these academies and God knows what, and 60-70% of our sides in the Premiership are players from all over the world. Football's a big name. England's
a global thing, isn't it?
But it's a big place, England now, for football. And some of the transfers are astronomical, aren't they? I mean, it's
it's
absolute joke.
sick. Excuse me. Got
But
a question.
the
Sorry,
reserve
Brian.
good. It was good.
Yeah.
You know, you got to meet a lot. Most London clubs had loads of players who were more than good enough to play in the first division. But you know, if a club's successful for 3 or 4 games, they wouldn't change their size. There was no benches with 5 or 6 on, was there? You only had one 12th man, and at one time 12th man never come on, did they?
No. Very rarely would get any game time.
Yeah, because that was it then. That I think was just if someone was poorly overnight, then you had another man who could take his place. But it's still a good game to be involved in. I'm sure, money wise.
Got a question here from Joan that she asked a little bit earlier. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You was a pub landlord after you finished playing. Is that correct?
Yes.
She asks, did you enjoy being a pub landlord? And is it true that you used to leave a pint of beer out in the morning for the milkman?
I don't remember that, but the first pub I had was I just went to work in the pub in Hornchurch.
Yep.
After what happened, what you're going to ask me a bit later on.
That might come up, possibly.
But that's all right. There's no problems with that.
Nah.
And then I had a pub frying coop in Brentwood.
Yeah.
And then I took another iron coop pub in Wickford. Then I went up to Hanningfield on the reservoirs in a pub. Then I went to Southend Airport, and I had all the catering and stuff in there. And I was a steward in a Masonic temple. I looked after a pub down in Ramsgate for a company. And then Bobby Moore and Patsy and Jimmy Quill bought the Hope Hotel in Southend.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back there, and that was the last pub I had.
How long was you in the pub game, Brian?
Oh, a long while. Many years. And then I went to Southend and looked after the bars and catering there for the chairman there.
Yeah, I'm looking here. It says that you joined Southend United as a catering manager. Is that correct?
Yeah. Posh name on it.
Yeah.
Well, he had a son
management.
He had a young son who was running it, and I was sort of with him. We had a little nightclub, Boots and Laces, it was called, at their training ground at Chadwell, at Southend, which was a nice training ground. And we done, we had lots of burger bars there. And then when his son packed up, I run it all on my own. Well, I run it for him on my own.
Yeah.
So I've been involved with Southend for about 35 years. I just go and look after the ballroom for games. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening.
And I do some games at West Ham, which is okay. So other than that, I play golf. But I had a few. And you can ask me any problems I had. I don't mind.
Well, we're probably going to come to that in a moment, because obviously we've spoken about your time at West Ham and with the Cup Winners' Cup triumph, scoring the 5 goals against West Brom, which, as I say, you've still got that little piece of footballing, English football history that you are still to this day, as far as I'm aware, as far as the records that I can verify, the fastest you've scored, the scorer of the fastest 5 goals in English top flight league football. But obviously you left West Ham in 1969. and you went via a sort of route that included a certain club that's the other side of the water that we're
No, I
not
went
too.
to Fulham first.
Fulham first, but then you ended up going to that other club.
Well,
Yeah.
I went to Brighton
What
on
happened
loan.
there?
I went to Brighton on loan for a few games.
Yep.
Quite enjoyed it down there. I think I ended up playing about 12 games and nearly being their leading goal scorer. That was the year we got beat 6-1, last game of the season at Upton Park.
Was that Manchester United?
Manchester United, yeah.
Yeah.
Archie McCauley was the manager, and I'd got a few goals, and they was out of trouble. And we played Middlesbrough the last game, and he said to me, "I won't be needing you today." I thought, "Oh, thanks very much."
Cheers.
Got all the money they owed me, and got a train and come home, just in time to see the last 5 minutes or so of the game at Upton Park. But I went to Fulham for quite a decent fee. But
20,000, is that right?
20 was more than that, 25, 20,
Okay.
about 20,000. And there were some really nice guys there. Cliffy Jones was there. Then Malcolm McDonald was a left back.
Yep.
Ted Drake's son was there, who was a centre forward. Cliff Jones, who left Arsenal.
Was George Cohen still playing for Fulham at this stage?
No, I don't. He wasn't playing then. Nichols was playing, who they got from Millwall.
Okay.
Barry Lloyd. We had some good players there. But I lived in Hornchurch, and every day I was going from Hornchurch to Fulham, and I didn't really like it. There was no way I was going to uproot and move to West London, because I don't think I would have ever been staying in that area forever. Yeah, and I didn't want to be a wanderer. And I think Bill, he knew I wasn't happy, backwards and forwards, and we used to train miles from the ground and God knows what. And he just come to me one day. He said, "Listen," he said, "I can see you're not happy, Brian." He said, "But I've got a chance of getting a couple of players for you." He said, "We'll give you the money we owe you. Would you have a word with Benny Fenton at Millwall?" So I said, "Yeah, okay." Well, that was nearer home, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But no aggravation between supporters in them days at that time.
No.
Millwall, and because the Docks were flying then, and the Dockers from the south side used to come to West Ham, and the Dockers used to go to watch Millwall, and we had players from Millwall, they had players from West Ham, so there was no aggravation. But when I got
Harry
there,
Cripps was one, wasn't he?
well, Harry Cripps was there, Dennis Burnett was there, Keith Weller, Posse, Brian King was a goalkeeper, Bill Kitch was centre half, Eamon Dunphy. They had some good players there, but it was very cliquey at Millwall, and Benny was very favourable to certain people and not other people.
Okay.
And I just, at the end of the day, we got fed up with it there, and sort of got me way out, really. At the end of the season, halfway through, I left, and I wasn't doing anything then. I had a chance of going abroad to Bruges, but in those days, I went to Bruges and I met people, and I had a guy with me, and everything was sorted out. But in those days, you could only have one foreign player.
Okay.
And or one or two. And the bloke who was going to go changed his mind. So my bit fell through. So I was doing nothing then. Just loitering about, really.
Yeah. So you obviously went back to West Ham. How did that come about, Brian?
I I went over, yeah, but I put a lot of weight on then. And I was over, I used to go over the training ground every day and watching this and watch that. And then one day, Albert will come out and said, Staggy said, Ron wants to speak to you. I thought he was going to tell me not to go over the training ground. So I went in there and Early Gregory was there and John Lyle and Albert, who was the boot man. He was a very nice man. And Ron said, what you up to? I said, nothing. He said, you put a bit of weight? And I went, yeah. And all right out of the blue, he went, do you want to come back? I went, what? He said, go with Ernie, get yourself fit, play a few games for the reserves and that. And if you do all right, I'll give you a contract. So
Okay.
I went with Ernie and got myself back to fitness again, good. And he took me back. And I played some reserve games and this and that. And we used to have all the team sheets on the wall in the dressing room. And I was looking there one Saturday, looking down, couldn't see nothing. So I said to Ernie, where's Greenwood? He said, out on the pitch. I went, oh. So I went out there, there, and he was standing there in his tracksuit.
Yeah.
So on a Friday morning. So I went, he went, hold on, what's your problem? I said, the problem is I ain't playing anywhere tomorrow. He said, yes, you are. I said, well, I'm not. He went, go and have another look. So I went back in there, got to the first team, standing, so. Another.
Another.
That was me.
Okay.
So I went outside and he went, you all right? I went, yeah. He said, all right, see you tomorrow. Get your hair cut. And off I went.
Get your hair cut.
And I played a few games then, which was okay. And I was doing all right. And then, of course,
something happened. Yes. Yeah. So let's get to it then. The elephant in the room. Blackpool FA Cup third round tie. I believe it was Bobby Moore, Jimmy Greaves, Clyde Best, and it says here along with the club's trainer,
Rob Jenkins was.
Oh, it was Rob Jenkins, was it?
Yeah, and it was some of the guys who was doing the filming the next day for the television. I don't know. It just transpired that there was these, which really none of us took a lot of notice of, about the weather. You know, the pitch was so and so and so and so, but nothing. So we were after dinner. Bob said we should go and have a stroll there. We ended up going to Bride London's, but you know, Clyde was a young man. There was no sort of drunkenness or, you know, heavy drinking or whatever. You know, when you're going back to the years of Julian Dix taking bottles of Jack Daniels in his room,
you
ask the boys of 86, they're not too slow to tell you. I mean, if we had a beer, we had a beer. No one come back, you know, shouting and screaming. But when we got back there was the little man on the door, you know, with his outfit on, with his top hat. We stayed at the best hotel in Blackpool at the time.
Yeah.
We ordered some coffees and stuff. And then we just went off to bed. The next day we had lunch, and Bob Stokoe brought Blackpool to our hotel to have their pre-match. And I suppose then the little grass who was outside the hotel said, "Oh, son of the boys, Mr. So-and-so." Never found out the true story. But no one knew then. We met in the hotel after lunch. He picked a side. I didn't even play. I wasn't even playing. And so off we went. And the pitch was, I remember when I was a kid, when we, years and years and years and years before, when we played a cup game and Dennis Law was playing. I forget where Dennis Law was in them days, but he absolutely, and he was only young. He absolutely ripped us to bits. Like,
was he at Huddersfield at that point?
Correct, Huddersfield. And Blackpool had a little fella called Green, who was of the same stature, and he run rings round us, run us to death, and we got beat. We come home on the train. Nothing was said on the train, and on the Monday morning, I had a phone call from Bobby and said, "Ron's phoned up, found out that we'd got the Brian London's club. We've got to go to the ground. Me, you, Jimmy, Rob Jenkins. Rob Jenkins, bless him, was probably threatened with his job if he didn't say anything. He wasn't in a position to say we couldn't do this, couldn't do that. He was a physiotherapist. He wasn't like, your assistant manager or someone where.
Yeah.
And so we all went in there separately. I came out with Jim, and Ron said, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. I explained the fact that I didn't even play because you couldn't get on anyway as a 12-man then.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Howe played and Clyde Best. He played a funny side. He said, you'll never play for West Ham again. He said, I'll pay your wages to the end of the season. He said, and that's it. So that was it. And
pretty brutal.
Yeah. Jimmy left at the end of the season, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a bit of, I think I've got here, he had a year left on his contract and then he was off ski.
Yeah, he was off. It was never the same for Bob. And there was talks of him going to Tottenham, and he put a block on that. And then I know Derby County, because Brian Clough told me that he tried to get him to go to Derby County.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And when he phoned up, his wife answered the phone. She said, "Brian, Bobby Moore's on the phone." He said, "Is that the young lad who can't run or head a ball?"
Lovely.
Idiot. And Bob went to Fulham. And
yeah. Is
and
it right that the pitch, you weren't too sure that the game at Blackpool was going to be played, and was that part of the reason sort of why you sort of thought let's go for a beer, or that had nothing to do with it?
Won't be the first time we'd had a beer before a game and gone and ripped them up the next day. But it was just that was it. And I never really went much to West Ham then. I went to a few games a bit later, but I'd done nothing, and that's when I got involved in the pubs. I did play for my friends bought Woodford Town.
Yep.
And I did play there for a while because I was looking after their bar as well. And Bob, who had the Circus Tavern along the.
Oh yeah, I know it.
He was paying me £100 a game. I never earned £100 in my fucking life.
I was going to say that's good. That was good money back in the day.
And then not Peter Braybrook, Les Allen came.
Is that Clive Allen's dad?
Yeah, he came and played a bit. Then he was the manager.
Yep.
he didn't get on very well with me, and then I packed that up, and then I had the dark side of my life, which you're going to probably ask about, which I'm okay with.
I wasn't aware. Well, you've let that particular cat out of the bag, Brian. If you want to elaborate, please do.
Well, you know, I had a problem with drinking.
Okay.
For a long while.
I'll be honest. That was something I was unaware of. So I've learned something there. But it's up to you if you want to talk about it.
Well, that's life, and I I just went from here to there. Fortunately, I had a good wife, I had good family, and it all came to a head when my daughter one day said, "Dad, you've got to stop the drinking, or else so and so," because it was pub life. But then I had two very good friends in Southend, one a Jewish man, and another one who was a lorry driver. They're like chalk and cheese, and they were great help. I was very heavy, and I started going to Slimmer's World with his wife and got rid of all the weight. And I used to go out for Sunday with my friend, who was a lovely man. He was just an ordinary East End boy, lived in Southend. And we used to go to the pub, and they say, "Oh, do you want a drink?" He said he'll have a tonic water, and if you want to sit there, he'll talk about football to you, so and so. And everything was okay. And then, life turned around. I went to Southend, and I haven't now had any alcohol for 30 odd years. Just, the message was given and adhered to.
Wow, as I say, it was that. I'll be honest, that wasn't an aspect of your life that I was even aware of, Brian. And
when I was at Southend, I was still running the bars and the cake, God knows what, but never bothered me. Never touched another cigarette. And I've just, I've worked. I was at Southend for a long while, and they looked after me. I do it at West Ham, which is okay. I have go to the golf club and play golf. The family are all around me. My daughter lives across the road. My son lives around the corner, and
life is good.
Yeah, I've survived till I'm 80.
Yeah, no, you're doing well, mate. You're doing very well. Thank you for being so open with that. As I say, it wasn't even a subject I was going to talk about, because it was something I was blissfully unaware of. So
yeah, but lots of sportsmen, look at Jimmy.
Yeah.
And George, they I think they were worse off than me, but they came round. Certainly Jimmy did. And there was a guy who was a great mentor for him, who was a goalkeeper at Fulham, and he helped Jim famously. And now they take drugs.
Yeah.
And gamble on football.
Yeah. Let's not go there. We got someone that might have to sort of face the music on that one. But
they can't take away what we done. We done it there.
Yeah.
And the lads I do the things at West Ham, they're all good fellas. They've all come up through the years and years and years, and they're very tight knit. And we're all. I'm the old sort of father of them all, really. I'm the old dog. There's no one within 10, 12 years, 15 years near me.
The senior statesman.
Senior statesman can.
There you go. There you go.
Gets out of breath from the station ground.
Budgie asks a question. Other than West Ham, of course, which fans gave you the warmest welcome?
I don't know. You see, we weren't. I think we were quite liked by most fans because we weren't aggressive. They couldn't.
Yeah.
They couldn't sort of get out what they would like to get out against some. There was no one in our side that was targeted. Only like Bobby, probably because of he was immaculate. He was everything about him was immaculate. I mean, he never, when he put his shorts on, he stood on the bench to put his shorts on. It was an embarrassment. Or on the train coming home, he would have another shirt and, change his shirt that he'd sat on the train on. And, but.
Was he always like that, Brian?
Everything had to be in place. Everything was coordinated. When I sometimes used to room with him, he used to put all his money up the right way, the heads up or the tails up. And I used to knock them over. And yeah, he played. That's how he played.
Wow.
That's how he played. I told you the story about Wembley, didn't I, with Malcolm Allison?
What story was that, Brian?
When I went to Wembley.
Oh, when he tapped him on him on the shoulder, said he hadn't made a mistake. Yes. Yeah.
Because he made a mistake, young man.
Yeah.
He never seemed dirty, did he?
No, he was always. I mean, there's that one when he's about to get the Jules Rimet trophy from the Queen.
Oh, who else would have thought of wiping their hands?
Wipe his hands.
I mean, he never got a knighthood.
And that's an honour that can't be bestowed posthumously.
No, you can't have that. No, posthumous. No, they don't do that.
No.
But they give them around. They're like Treebor sweets now. They just give them about to everyone there, don't they? Poor old David's been fighting for one for years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And, but that's how it is. I mean, we're another era in football. The fortunate part is, like, clubs like ours, and especially the London clubs, they do talk about the old days more, because we were very rarely out of the big time, weren't we? The London club.
Yeah.
And we all got on well with one another. There was all good fellas. We, socially, we used to, if there was a dinner or something on. Even now with the Bobby Moore golf days, we've had golf days galore. And this year we had a golf day, which Tony Gale's involved, like he gives the little speeches and everything. But we play over at Reigate. There was 32 teams, 32 players turned up to play in a team that people have paid good money for. I mean, tomorrow morning I'm going down to Leon, along Lee by Lee, to the Arches, and we go down there, and there's old players. They're not the most famous of the West Ham players, but we all meet. There's about 20 odd of us and a few other people, and we go and have breakfast, and we do that once a month. Rob Jenkins will be there, Tim Crane, lots of lads who were on the periphery of really playing a lot of the games for West Ham. And we've got that little thing going, which is very good. And we do lots of golf days. I mean, there's a guy going tomorrow who we do this little thing about it was a young lad, Tim Crane. We've been doing it for 3 years. We've got a little trophy, and people write, their memorabilia, the memorable game that they sort of seen at West Ham and God knows what. And then we find out, the best one, then he gets £100 and the Noel Cantwell trophy. And the guy who's winning it this year is an amazing man. His name's Dave Spurgeon. His mother died at 66 years old. And he said I'm going to raise in Bobby Moore's and my mum's name £66,000 for bowel cancer.
Wow.
The last day we had, he phoned me up. He said, "Brian," he said, "I'm up to 65,750. I hope they use someone." And he donates stuff for these auctions.
Yeah.
He said, "I use some of my stuff," and they did. And he got the 66 grand, surpassed it.
Lovely.
Which is an amazing feat.
Yeah.
And he's got loads of Bobby Moore memorabilia, and you know, he's a very nice man. And they come, and Terry Connolly, who turns up in about 8 books and wants you to sign them, and got as well. We're only there for a couple of hours or so. Tony COYI comes, the guy who ran the academy for years,
Tony Carr
comes, Walford comes, Rob Jenkins, Roger Cross. I'm taking another boy, David James, tomorrow, who was a youth at West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. We, and they're not all sort of ex-West Ham players. Some of them are players who played in other clubs who just come down and have a bit of bread. There's normally about 20, 25 of us, only for a couple of hours or so. And it's nice. Paul Brush.
Yep.
Sarge, who played for us. You remember Sarge, didn't you?
Oh, Paul Goddard.
Yeah, Paul Goddard comes.
Yep.
They all, and we have a. I'm the president of the John Lyle Golf Day. We had at Romford this year. We do a golf day, which John's son is quite involved in, and we get loads of the boys, come for that. Georgie Paris, and they all, he has a golf day. We go and help George.
Yep.
It's West Ham has still got that bit about it,
Yeah.
And all the guys who do the matches, they're all from different eras, all from different teams, and they all get on together, and it's nice. And there's no big time Charlies. It's just a nice day to go to the game and just do a little bit and see the boys.
All working towards a common goal. You've all got a very similar backstory, if you will. You've all got that thread that connects you.
I'll give them some stick. The boys are 86, the greatest side West Ham won, I think, and Tony Cowley, who played 14 times for Blackburn and got a championship medal and God knows what, and this and that. So I scored more goals than you got. I said, league appearances at Blackburn, and we all have a little jib at one another, but it's all in good fun.
All a bit of banter.
Yeah. Mad Dog and Johnny Moncur, Keith
Robson.
Keith Robson comes down. Yeah, I always met, and Alan Taylor,
Sparrow.
Yeah, there's and everyone, we all have a little jib at one another. It's all a bit of laugh before the game. We all have a little bit of bite to eat, and it's good fun. And they're all good lads. And Mark Ward.
Oh, Wardy, yep.
Yeah. He sent me a bit online once of the footballers who've been in prison, the team. It was a brilliant team. George Best, Tony Adams.
Yes.
All of them. Waldy. It was quite amazing. Peter Story.
Yeah, there's been a few that have been at Her Majesty's pleasure for a spell or two.
They even had a goalkeeper, didn't they? The goalkeeper was foreign.
Oh, who was that?
I don't know, some bloke's name. I forget what his name was, but he was foreign.
God. It'll come to me later. It'll come to me.
And that's all in jest, isn't it? I mean,
it's all a bit of a laugh, in it. I've got a question for you from Happy Hammerette here, Brian, if I may. Who do you think is our best striker in more recent times? So, of the last sort of 20, 30 years, who do you think has been the best striker in that sort of time frame?
20, 30? Bloody hell. Well,
So if we go back to sort of like back to 1993 to the modern day, 2023, who would you say has been the best striker in that time for West Ham?
I don't know. There was no COYI. There was no little fella who went back up to Newcastle, was there?
Dean Ashton for a spell. I mean, obviously before he got the injury.
Yeah, Dean Ashton got a lot of goals, didn't he, when he was in the Manchester area? And he was doing well for us, and then he went on that bloody England tour, didn't he?
Yeah.
Got the injury, and he never fulfilled how good he was going to be, did he?
No.
We see Dean a bit. We see him about a bit. Golf days and that. I don't know. We haven't really. I mean, there's only the Cotties and the McAvennies.
Well, COYI did come back, didn't he? I think he came back 94.
Yeah, he done well when he come back. Well, he went to Leicester.
Yeah.
Then come back to us. He scored 100 and I don't know.
He wasn't bad, was he?
150, 160 goals, didn't he?
Well, the first game I ever watched at Upton Park, Brian, little look into my existence. My first game at Upton Park, when I was on the shoulders of my father, we won by what is still our record scoreline of 10-0 against Bury. League Cup, second round, second leg, 25th of October. And he scored 4.
And we signed their centre half.
We signed Paul Hilton, yes.
Yeah, remember? That was
mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could only happen to us.
I mean, it's like the poor lads who were the next Bobby Moore.
Oh, God.
Lockie.
Yeah, Kevin Locke, yeah.
He comes down to the breakfast. And the boy we got from up north, Maguire. Was it? No, not Maguire. Who's that? What was his name? We got him from somewhere up north. McGivern.
Oh, Mick McGivern. He became a coach, didn't he?
Yeah. He got ruled into so and so. I mean, it's hard for them to, want to follow someone like that.
Yeah. It's a heavy tag, isn't it? Something like that. The new Bobby Moore, it's like bloody hell.
If you ever got a chance to go to the training ground and seen the board of the players that we processed at West Ham in certain eras, it was quite amazing. I mean, when we got rid of Frank and Joe Cole and the boy who went to Manchester, who went to Tottenham.
Oh, Michael Carrick.
There was loads of them. They was like 8 or 9 in one go. We produced some fantastic players.
Do you think it's slowed up in recent years, Brian? The Academy of Football. Do you think that sort of like the modern era of football doesn't lend itself too well to local talent getting that opportunity?
Well, it's slowed up because of the influx of foreign players. Well, any player now, including in our football, that can just move around willy-nilly now. I had a chance of going away abroad when it was only to Bruges, but you could only have 2 foreign players. One of them was going to go, and then he changed his mind. So my deal fell out of bed. Now you can have as many as you like, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's some teams that don't even field anyone from Britain, let alone England.
I know.
In their starting 11.
And the guys, when the black guys, there's such good athletes. They have that bit about them where they're great athletes, and they're good players, and they're I mean, we've had some great boys. Like, look at Antonio, Carl, Marlon Harewood. We've had good players from out different clubs, and they've all done well for West Ham. And there's a chance for everybody. It's not football is everywhere around the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
And every player's, if you've got the talent, you'll get the chance if you come good. I mean, it's just it's hard now for because there's so many parents want their kids to be footballers, don't they?
Yeah.
It's so hard. I mean, look at the little lad who's taking all the pundits now for England.
Jude Bellingham.
Jude Bellingham, yeah. I've got today. I got a picture on my phone from a guy who was a goalkeeper at West Ham.
Okay.
And he's got Jude Bellingham in his arms when he was a baby, playing. He was playing football with his dad in Southend, and he was in goal. He was a goalkeeper for a while at West Ham. I mean, it's just amazing.
It's funny how things sort of like go like that.
And they reckon his young brother, was better than him.
Wow. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
got a question. Sorry, Brian. I've got a question here from Rob Singleton, and he's asked the question sort of going back into your formative years. Whose boots did you clean? And then going further forward, then when it came full circle, who cleaned your boots?
Well, I don't remember cleaning too many boots. We used to have an old boot man at Southend. We had players who we had to look after their kit and take the boots to the boot room.
Yeah.
You had 3 or 4 players who, after training, you had to get their kit, bundle it up, tie it up in their jumper, and then take it to be collected to the washroom for the lady to wash it. And sometimes you'd nick someone else's jumper and put it on if you were cold, and all of a sudden they'd all come round, the old boys, the old players, looking in the back of the thing saying, "Get that off, it's got my number in it." Like, but we had 2 pair of boots only a season, us. 2 pairs.
Yeah.
And then
what happened if you sort of had a mishap with both pairs? What then?
Don't know. You had a pair. We had a pair of rubbers and a pair of studs.
Yeah.
Arthur Sedgwick at Walthamstow, we had a sports shop. We used to come over in a van, and we used to sit there and try them on, and they were your boots. And then when you'd finished them, the next season you had 2 new pair, and the other 2 pair you used for training.
Right.
That was about the size of it.
It's different, completely different now, isn't it? Like you say, they've got these multi-million-pound contracts where they've literally they can't move for boots. They probably have a pair for going out on the pitch. If on a match day, I bet they've probably got a pair that they go have a knockabout in pre-match. Then they've probably got a pair for the first half, a pair for the second half. It wouldn't surprise me if they've got 3 different pairs of boots minimum for a match. Also,
football these days, it's no slur on when we played, but they're different diet, they're different things they drink, when they're training, their food when they're training is different, and they're all better athletes, I think, than we were. They're just very.
Could they have coped, do you think, on obviously the pitches that you had to deal with, like quagmires and the balls and the boots that were much sort of like more cumbersome?
Yeah. It's only improved in time, over time, isn't it?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is you know, people sort of like turn around and say, you know, could players from your era have survived and thrived in the Premier League era? But I think about, well, flip it on its head, actually. How would a Premier League player cope going back to your era and existing then? I mean, I'm not quite sure that they'd have coped, to be honest with you, what you
Well,
had to put up with.
But they've got, I mean, they've got better facilities than we had. I mean, the treatment and thing is changed. You know, the injuries. You know, if you had, no one says now you've done a cartilage, do they? It's always some highfalutin name, isn't it? And,
ACL injuries,
or pulled a muscle, or
yeah.
I mean, when you see a cartilage injury, someone had it. There was a line up the front of their knee where the stitches was, and that's it. Wasn't it? Now I could never remember a footballer when I played who went for a scan on an injury or whatever.
Get the magic sponge out, wasn't it? That was about your lot.
Yeah, they're very well looked after, their footballers, and they're good athletes. I mean, and that's what it's all about. I mean, the kids are starting at such a young age now, aren't they? I mean,
do you think that that's a good thing?
Yeah, because mums and dads haven't changed, have they? You know, when I was at school, my mum and dad went to all the games when, you know, I played in, and it's no different to the mums and dads now, because it's a great life. The life, it's even a better life than we had now in any sport. And the training is different. That, you know, there's not just trainers now. These guys, they've got young coaches. Look at the coaches. Look at the coaching staff now at West Ham. I mean, Ken Brown's son is in charge of the academy.
Yep, Kenny.
What's the name? Has just gone with the manager, isn't he?
Oh, Mark Robson.
Mark Robson.
Yep.
And there's a few of the boys. I think Jimmy Walker with the goals. I think Carlton was doing a bit at the training ground, and Marlon with the boys. Mm-hmm. You know, Rufus Brevett is there of all, you know, all the games. Paul Parker was with us. He went to Manchester United, didn't he?
Is Paul Parker involved behind the scenes? I didn't realise.
He comes. You know, he's there at the games. You know,
okay.
Still likes, you know, to be involved in football.
Because he's Ben Johnson's uncle, isn't he?
I think so, yeah. Ben Johnson. Look at George Paris. Charlo. Clive Charlo. And, of course, the one we forgot, Clyde Best.
Yes.
I mean, I think that was only by chance that...
all the way over from Bermuda, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, but Clyde was playing in some soccer teams in New York at the time.
Okay.
When Phil Woosnam and the new Clive Toye went to America and started the first North American soccer leagues, didn't they?
Yep.
And I think he put Ron onto Clyde. Clyde come over, and there's the story. We got Clyde.
Yeah.
And he's doing the big thing at the moment. He's got a big story coming out, which lots of us have all been involved in. And he's a nice man, Clyde.
He must have gone through the ringer a little bit, obviously in the era he existed, and obviously being, you know.
I think the one good thing about Clyde was that when he came here, you know the story. He turned up at West Ham station, and a 16-year-old. And the lady said, "Are you all right?" He said, "Yeah, I'm looking for West Ham." And she said, "Well, this is West Ham station. You wanted Upton Park." But John and Clive Charles' mum, they lived across the Memos, the memorial ground by where West Ham used to play many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And she took him over there. Clyde lived with him all the time he was playing for West Ham.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Lived with Mrs. Charles.
Wow.
And he was he was really part of their family.
Yeah.
And any Clyde ever does, he always mentions the Charles family.
Still remembers, has that gratitude for them.
Well, I mean, we were pioneers. Clive Charles, Eddie Coker, and Clyde were the first three black boys to play in the first division.
Yes.
And that was down to West Ham. Clive went to America, John's brother, coaching, and became second. He was assistant manager in their national side when the World Cup was in France. And Clyde
I didn't realise that.
Yeah. And Clyde is like doing a film now. He's been over for quite a while. Clive, he was over a while ago. And we all went and done an interview with Clyde. And he still keeps touch with the Charles family. And it's West Ham was a great starting place for lots of people. Our crowd are very good. They moan and groan, but they're still, they all ate the Olympic Stadium, but 60,000 of them turn up every game to watch it.
That is true.
It's a shame about West Ham because I was around there when, West Ham bought that stadium for 30 grand, Upton Park. And we had the same directors all them years and one manager, and it blossomed bigger, didn't it? I mean, I'm sad that we lost Upton Park, but
yeah,
the area has become so populated now, and there was 7 or 8 buses in a line, weren't there, after the game?
Yeah, getting in and out of Upton Park
You was in a queue. You could have nearly walked to Plaistow Station.
Yeah,
people used to walk to East Ham Station to get a train.
Yeah, I remember getting in and out of Upton Park was not fun towards the end.
But it was it wasn't so much when we played there, but as football changed over the years, it became a very intimidating stadium, didn't it? Because the crowds were different, football was different.
Yeah.
You only had to lean against the fence, didn't you, over the chicken run, and someone could tear your head off your shoulders.
Yeah, literally sort of like touch you on the shoulders.
All there was about 2 or 3 foot of path there.
Yeah,
and
not much at all.
No, you nearly got dragged into the crowd. And they were a bit vociferous, weren't they?
Yeah, they like to make themselves heard.
And I think we done all we could to that stadium at the end. We had the pitches, we had the lounges, we had we put as much on as we could. And I know it hurt a lot of people when we left, but that's life. The game goes on. They're all big. When you look at I went to Brentford last year. When you look at them, 28,000, and they're in the Premiership.
Yeah.
Bournemouth are still playing football in that park.
Yeah.
The stadiums are small, and they've got to play players on par with the big clubs.
Yeah, just to get them through the door.
And then when you see Harry Maguire, he don't want to move nowhere, and he's on about 150 grand a week, doesn't he? I want to come to. Then again, he's played for England the other night.
It's a bit crazy, that, isn't it?
But plays for England.
Yeah, I can't work that out with Southgate. I got to be honest with you, Brian. It's
well,
you've got Calvin Phillips as well.
Yeah, Philip. Yeah, you don't see them playing for their club.
No. Yeah, they'll play for their country. Yeah, that makes sense.
Getting a goal, Schumacher.
Yeah. Yeah, it was typical he scored the other night, wasn't it? Do
Yeah.
you watch much England games?
Yeah, I watch them. Well, I still look after a little pub one night a week for a young lady who worked for me for years and years. And her husband died, and we were very friendly with the family and that. And I just go in and they put all these things on about rugby this night, so and so this, so and so that, and Monday's an evening with Brian Deere, and it's the quietest night of the week.
Oh, dear.
Really?
Brian, we're coming towards the end of the Q&A now, but before we call it quits there, I did actually prepare a little something for you, and I hope you appreciate it. It took me a little bit of effort to put this little montage together. It's a little video tribute to you. It lasts just over 2 minutes.
Hold on. I can't. I am the world. My phone is on fire at the moment.
That's all right. I'm just going to press play, and as I say, I hope you appreciate what I've put together for you.
Something I can't get rid of on my phone.
Okay, that's fine. Take your time.
Have a look here. Brian Deere.
Ready?
It's got Brian Deere. Remove from page. Edit name and headline. Edit and order. You're in the show, everyone. I can see you. This.
Oh no!
I can see you.
Pressed the wrong button.
Oh, did I?
Right, I'm going to press play. I hope you're going to see what I'm going to see.
Well, I'm laying back on the settee, and you're laughing with me with your glasses on and your white beard.
Okay, mate. I'm going to press play. Enjoy the show.
Back with him. And a superb cross, and there's the equaliser. What a good one it was too. Ryan Deere, the scorer. 5 goals to remember so far this match. And just under 3 minutes of football still to come. And here's Deere loose. And that's it. Oh yes, what a goal! And that settled it. Ryan Deere's second goal of the match. His 5th against Leicester City in the holiday game, makes it 4-2 for West Ham United, and that is the exact way to the scoreline.
Did you get all that, Brian?
Yeah, brilliant. Very good.
Brought back some nice memories for you, did it?
Yeah. That was a muddy old pitch, wasn't it?
I was going to say, that's why I said sort of like the quagmires that you boys played on. It's like, where's the grass?
What about him, though? Poor old Shilton. 5 I scored against him in 3 days.
there was a little piece I saw on Wikipedia. It said allegedly, according to this, Peter Shilton named you as his toughest opponent.
Yeah, but he said the roly-poly boy from West Ham. No, it's at East Mersey now, on Mersey Island.
Oh, really?
I scored 8 times against him in 4 games. I
Well,
got a
that's
hat
not a
trick.
bad accolade, is it? He weren't bad in goal.
No, he weren't that good when I was about, but
No.
we were both young men then.
Yeah.
Will that stay on there all the time now?
How do you mean?
That clip you done?
I can send it to you if you like.
Yeah, God, I'd love to. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll download it and I'll send it to you, mate. It's not a problem.
Where do you live?
Me, I live in Dartford.
So do you ever get over this side of the river?
Oh yeah, all the time. Put it this way: my mother-in-law lives in Benfleet. My
Mhm.
sister-in-law lives in Southend.
We'll have to have a meet and have a sit down and have a chat. Maybe
I'd love to. That'd be great, Brian. Appreciate it.
You've got my number, haven't you?
I have indeed. I have
When
indeed.
just give me a ring anytime. I'd love to meet you up face to face.
I'll take you out for an orange juice.
I don't even drink that. I'll drink lime and soda or
Lime and soda, not a problem. It's on me.
Green tea.
Oh yeah. I like a cup of green tea every now and again.
Don't
The
go
only thing
to
with green tea, it makes you wee, doesn't it?
all the time.
Yeah.
Do you go to the games at West Ham?
Season ticket holder, Brian. Me and
Where?
me 3 kids.
Where do you go?
We are block 203, which is because obviously the stadium it's not like stands like Upton Park, is it? It's like a sort of like a bowl, isn't it? So it's difficult.
Are you the right side of the director's box?
Yeah, basically sort of like we're the same side as where the sort of like the players come out, but if you can imagine where the tunnel is, we're sort of like to the left.
Oh, you're Bobby Moore end.
Towards that, yeah. It's sort of like where the West stand and the Bobby Moore stand will sort of like converge, if you will, that curve.
Yeah, where the boxes end on the left hand side.
Yeah, not far.
Because you're nearly across the road.
I'm right at the back, Brian. Literally, I am the back row. There is no one behind me.
Because that's quite close to the statue by the bell, isn't it?
It's not far.
Mm.
Come out
sort
of like and then
a few photos done with people, but I'm the only one about who can have a photo taken there. None of the others live. Well, Jim Standon's in America.
Yes,
Jim might be over next year, I think.
And of course, a little claim to fame that he's got. He won the European Cup Winners' Cup and the County Championship in cricket in the same season, didn't he?
Jim, Joe Kirkup lives over the other side of the river. Don't see much of him. Jack lives in Southend, Jack Burkett, but he's quite poorly.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
Brown is 89. He lives in down in Norwich. Boyce is up in Wyborough. He's 81 shortly. Sizzo's in South Africa. Alan's gone. Jeff is in Cheltenham.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down here. Bobby's gone.
Where's Eddie Bovington living? Because I met him December last year, and I think he was shocked that I even knew who he was. I just went up to him and went, "Excuse me, are you Eddie Bovington?" And he looked at me and he had this look on his face as if to say, "How the hell do you know who I am?"
Eddie lives in Epping.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's lovely man. Eddie was.
I've got your phone number, haven't I?
Yes, you have. Yeah.
Yeah, when I come up to one of the games, we'll have to have a meet afterwards.
Okay, mate. Yeah, I'd be very, very glad to do that.
I'll be up to the Everton game.
Okay.
We'll have a meet.
We can sort out.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant.
I appreciate that.
No problem. As I say, I'll get that downloaded for you, mate, and I'll get that sent across to you on a WhatsApp message. You can download that and keep that for posterity.
Yeah. Past 10.
Brian, I am going to thank you very much indeed. I'm going to hit the outro credits and the Iron Supporting Food Bank little promo. For the guys that have been watching this, I'd like to say thank you to you guys as well for all of your questions. Obviously, there's loads of them. I couldn't sort of get them all through. We've been here sort of like for the rest of the weekend. But please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that bell icon for alerts on new content and click all. And don't forget, we always thank you very much indeed for your support. Brian, thank you very much for your time on the Q&A tonight. And we'll have to do it again at some point.
Okay, mate. Thanks
All
a lot.
right. Yourself. Yeah, now.
Don't forget, we'll have a yeah, we'll have a bit of this now, don't we?
Come on, you Irons.
We'll have to have a meet up after the game.
We will.
No,
we'll do that. We'll do that.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Take care. God bless.
Bye, mate. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.
West Ham are massive.